Okay, so back to my own bed. But before I do, let me just tidy this up. Let's call it iron. We can collapse that. The only reason I'm keeping these extra layers is because of the tutorials. Really all I'm interested in is my own bed. Okay, so if we look at the picture, we can see we've got some detail on the top and the bottom of the posts. How to do that? Well, before we do that, I want to show you something else in Blender. So let me just start a new collection. And let's just call this bridge. So let me hide this. And we're on the bridge layer. I'm going to add a cube. Shift A, add a mesh cube. Let's scale that down a bit. And I'm going to add a sphere, a mesh UV sphere. Again, let's scale that down a bit. About the size of the cube. Let's bring it up. How can we join this sphere to this cube? Well, first of all, we would need them as the same object. So Shift Select and Control J to join them into the same object. Now if we edit them, and that didn't work, Control J. And now if we edit them, it is one object. Okay. So if I wanted to join this cube to this sphere, so it's all one kind of continuous thing, well, first of all, I'd need to delete some of the geometry at the bottom of the sphere. So let me just turn on X-ray here. Let me grab this and let me just box select these couple of bottom loops and delete them. Right, and also the top face on the cube I would need to delete. Only faces. Right, so let's come back into vertex select. If I wanted to join these two, we can actually turn off the X-ray now. One way I could do it is with something called bridging edge loops. So if I was to select this edge loop around the bottom of the sphere, and I was to Shift Alt select this edge loop around the top of the cube, if we come to edge, bridge edge loops, and you see we make this geometry in between, we bridge the geometry. Let's go into object mode for a minute. Let's have a look at that. It does come with some problems. If we look at this, we got some kind of flat shading all the way around, and if I was to shade this smooth, I could then, you know, kind of edit and go back and select my faces and shade what I want flat. Need to be there. Shade flat, select that one, shade it flat, etc. So we get somewhat of a resemblance of a flow there. All right. However, when we do look at the geometry, we're left with lots of tries and odd geometry. Because this loop only had 4 vertices on it, whereas if I select this loop, and it's not selected all the way around there because of the way that has joined, but if I select this loop, you'll see we got 32 vertices. 32 into 4, they're just different numbers, they don't work. So you should really try and plan ahead a little about how you're going to do this. So let me delete this object, and let's do this again. So Shift A, I'll add a mesh cube, let's scale it down. I'll add a mesh UV sphere, scale that down, And let's bring it up a bit. Alright. With this UV sphere, I should have done it before I scaled it, but I want to decide the number of vertices going around. So let me delete that for a minute. Shift A, let's add a new UV sphere. And I can go to the segments, and I'm thinking 12. So if I make that 12 segments, then I can scale it. Grab out there. Why did I choose 12? Well, let's join these. Well, I went into sculpt mode accidentally. Shift select that one. Control J to join them. And going to edit. Now, if I have 12 around, that means I can easily divide this into 3 faces. 4 3s are 12. So let me just do my initials, turn on X-ray, and let's delete the bottom of this sphere. Delete those vertices. Let's go into face mode, select this top face, X, and delete that face. Okay. I've only got 4 vertices around on this cube, but I know I want 12. But I also know that if I was to do a couple of loop cuts here, so I'll get 3 faces outside, and I'll do a couple of loop cuts here, Control R, 3 faces on that side. Now I've got 12 vertices around this cube or this square. So what I can do now is I can Alt select that loop around the top of the cube, and Shift Alt select that loop around the bottom of the sphere. Okay, and I could then edge, bridge, edge loops. So now what I've got, let's turn off this X-ray, easier to see, is I've got quads. However, it's slightly rotated. Can I do anything with that rotation? Yeah, a couple of things. One, I could turn on my X-ray again. I could select all of these, rotate on the Z-axis to kind of straighten them up. Might be easier if we go into a front orthographic. Rotate on a Z, and I could straighten them up there. So now we've got quads that are all the same size. The other thing I could have done was rotated my sphere before I joined it. But let's look at this in object mode again. Right. So now we could smooth this object. So let's right click. Let's go to edit mode, select all. Let's go into face mode. Right click, shade smooth. Then I could select these faces. Right click and shade flat. Go back into object mode. And you see we're getting this nice smooth transition between the flatness of the cube and the smoothness of the sphere. Okay, so that is bridge edge loops. It's important to have similar numbers, or not similar, but the same numbers, or something that's going to be easy to work with between of the 2 edge loops before you do this. Otherwise you're going to run into all kinds of troubles with tries. Let me X this. Keep pressing Z for some reason. Let's add a UV sphere. Okay, and let's make this one 12 segments. That's fine. Let's rotate it on the x-axis by 90 degrees. X 90. Let's move it off to one side. Let's add another one. Let's make this one 11. RX 90. move it to the other side. Alright, let's go into a side view here. Well, let's join these. Control J. And let's edit them. Once again, I'll go into a X-ray mode here so I can select everything. Alright, so let's box select 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's delete those vertices. And if I want to join these two, okay, so I could Alt select one edge loop, Shift Alt select the second edge loop, and let's go to bridge edge loops, and you see I'm getting some purely triangle geometry around here because the two edge loops do not have the same number of vertices. Okay, so that's really what we need to be careful of. Okay, so let's go back to our original model. So let's object mode, let's hide that, and let's unhide my bed. Let's look at the picture here. So we got some detail here. Don't know if I'll do quite that much detail. Kind of want to keep it a little bit simpler. But we'll see how we go. Alright, well, let's see what this detail is. Comes in, and then kind of like half circle up in another half round to a sphere. Let's do something with this. Rather than adding individual components and joining them, I think I'm going to do this in edit mode. And everything reses was generated at the 3D cursor, and I want to move the 3D cursor to the center of my posts, so I know that anything I'm going to add is going to be in line. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select these 4 vertices here. And I want to move my 3D cursor, so I should be able to do that in Mesh, Snap Cursor to Selected. So move the cursor to the center of the selected geometry, right there. Alright, okay. I can also delete this face, so let me X and face. So I'm left with this. And I know I've got 4 vertices around. When I was looking, we got this kind of half circle here. It's very much a torus shape. And so we've got to decide. I think I'll add a torus and then kind of trim it up. So we've got to decide how many segments we want on our torus. And I think 12 would be a good number to work with, because 12 is easy to obtain on this cube. So let's Shift A and let's add a mesh torus. Let's go to our properties and let's make the segments down to 12. Okay, minor segments is a lot as well. I can probably down to about 6 maybe. Let's go with 7. I'm going to go with 6 actually, because what I want to do, I'm actually going to go with 8. What I want to do is I want to be able to delete the inner half of this. So I need an even number, so I've got a vertex right on top and right on the bottom, and with a 6 I don't have that. But if I change that to 8, you see we've got a vertex right in the middle here, or an edge, and same on the top. Alright, so let me scale this loop down now. I want to scale it to the same size as the post. So let me just turn on the X-ray, be easier to see what's going on. Let's scale it to about the same size as the post. And then I'm going to move it up to about there. Alright, let's turn this X-ray off again. I want to delete the inner half of this torus because it's not going to be seen. So I'm going to leave this outer vertex, or this outer edge here, the one right at the top, and select the ones internally. So Alt select, I'm going to delete those vertices. I'm doing these one by one because it's going to be easier just to select each edge in turn rather than moving up and down and around the model. So Alt select that one, X, and Alt select that one, X. So I'm left with this half a torus here. So let's go to top view, and you can see that on the corners of the post do not line up with the corners of the vertices, the centers do. So I'm going to select one here, select L. I'm just going to rotate this on the Z axis, just so we kind of get more of that 45-degree running through. Alright, now I need 12 vertices around my cube here. So I'm going to Control R, 2 cuts that way, Control R, 2 cuts that way. Okay, this actually hasn't added that much geometry. It might seem it, but it hasn't. Alright, so let me select this edge loop, shift select the bottom edge loop of that torus, and we can bridge those. So edge, bridge edge loops. So we've made this transition. Okay, if we look at it from top view, just checking it, that all seems fairly square. It's out a little. Well, I could fix that. It's not too late to fix that. So Alt select that, Shift Alt select that, and Shift Alt select all the loops around this torus. Let's go to top view again, and I can just simply rotate it onto all these line up. RZ. And you see how they fall into line there? Nice straight line. Alright. Now I can select this edge loop. I can extrude it upward on the Z, so E, Z, bring it up a bit. I could even scale it in a little. Alright. So I've added that little bit of a detail there. So basically this bit of detail here. There is a second small one on top here. I'm not going to bother with that. Okay. What I can do now is I want to create the orb with the globe, the finial on top, the brown part. Alright. I know my 3D cursor is in the center of the post, so everything's all aligned. So let me Shift A and let me add a UV sphere. Very big, but first of all I want to make sure my segments match. So I need 12 segments. Alright. Now I've done that, let me scale this down. Okay, let me grab it and move it up. Maybe down a touch. Alright. I now want to delete whatever is below this line here because I want to join these to it. Which is going to be hard to do. If I go into X-ray mode again, you see we've got a lot of geometry going on down here. Okay. So let me go into this front view. This might be easier to do here. We're in a vertex select, and I'm kind of in between a vertex or the vertex or the edge loops there. So let me select this. So I'm only selecting that bottom part of the cube. I can delete those vertices. Alright, so now if I select a vertex on here and press L, so select all the linked ones. If I go to a top view, you can see my alignments out, but once again I can rotate this on the Z axis so the alignment matches. get it a bit more accurate, I could press the shift key, which will slow down my rotation. There we go. Right, let's turn off the X-ray. So we've got this and this. And quite simply, all I can do is I can select this first loop, Alt select. I can shift Alt select this second loop, and I can bridge those edges. Okay, so let's have a look at that in object mode. Alright, some smoothing to be going on here. We can do that easy enough. Let's go into a front view. Let's have our X-ray on. Let's go to edit mode. And let's go to face mode. Alright. And all I'm going to do is select all these faces. Right click, shade smooth. Go back to object mode. Turn off the X-ray. And you can see how much better that all looks. So I could do the same kind of thing on the bottom. Where are we? We're 21 minutes. But I'm not going to because time's going on. Alright. We can do the same kind of thing on the bottom. Or whatever design we like. But you can see how we've used different object types in edit mode. So they're already kind of joined together in the same mesh. And then we can join the individual object types with bridge edges.